Hey everyone, it's Viv and welcome to another character redesign video where I take old art from around middle school and turn it into a newly designed and updated character in my new style. So this character, I didn't give a name or much of a story to go along with. I did that a lot. I just kind of made designs and didn't think of much else for them. I just kind of made them up as I went along. So for the sake of having this character have a name that I can call her, I decided to name her Caspia because it's just a little play on Caspian Sea, and I saw her as sort of like an ocean warrior type thing when I was originally designing her, I think. Honestly, it might have just been like the way the design turned out without me specifically intending it to be an ocean princess sort of thing. But that's the direction I took this redesign, was like some sort of warrior princess who lives under the sea or something. This first bit is me trying to get the face right. I always kind of start with the face and work outward because that's kind of like what usually is the focal point of my drawings, and it's really important to get that face right so that it doesn't look weird, because I've definitely had drawings where I don't focus on the face very much and then it ends up looking really off later. The original had this kind of wacky textured hair, like I couldn't really tell if it was supposed to be spiky, wavy, or curly or what, and what the haircut is supposed to be. So in this one I kind of took some creative liberty and turned it into just this long wavy hair that's more of this curly-ish texture rather than the odd spikitude of the first one. I also made a lot more big changes to the outfit. A lot of the key elements I kept the same, but I wanted to have a bit more of a regal look to it and more like armor rather than just kind of flowy bits with random metal attached to them. I think it did still end up looking like that, but you know, I had to keep it in the spirit of the original, and so I don't mind it that much. I think this like three-pronged gold bit design is really interesting, and I kind of made it a bit more uniform, like having the bits match each other more, because in the original they're all kind of slightly different in weird ways, and so I kind of mushed them all together into a shape that I thought looked nice. I also changed the shape of the weapon a bit because I didn't really know what kind of weapon I was going for in the original. I was just like, ooh, this one's red and sharp. So I decided to make it more into like a classic scythe weapon, but still have that curvy factor. So I spent a long time adjusting the curve and everything of the blade, and here I'm going back and fixing it again because it just kept not looking right. Something that I notice in a lot of my older art and random character designs is that I would always like try out these really odd shapes and designs that like you wouldn't wear on normal clothes. Like I was always trying to find like interesting ways to do something like a shirt, or you know, these weird metal things on the top and skirt were another example of that, like experimenting of how are different ways that clothes can exist. And I like seeing that even then I was really passionate about outfit and character design and trying new things and seeing what worked and all. So now I'm starting on the inking stage. I gave her elf ears just because I like giving my characters that. I didn't really have much of a plan as to what universe this character would be in or what sort of story. I mainly just was focusing on the design for this one since I ended up making it pretty different from the original. But looking at it now, I think she reminds me of sort of old superhero comics. So I think that's what this character would be, like a comic from the 70s or something. I love inking wavy hair. It is my favorite thing ever, just making all these like whooshes and textures and all that. Flowy clothing is pretty fun too, but wavy hair is like my favorite thing ever. During the ink stage, there's always not very much for me to talk about since it's just me going over what I already did, so there's nothing new on screen that you haven't already seen other than me just retreading what I did before, so I'm struggling to figure out what to talk about. But, ooh, there's my nice cheating strategy for weapons. I hate drawing straight lines so much, and it's so much easier to just use the Photoshop tools. So that's what I do, and I have no shame about it. I'm talking very soft and very sleepy today. Something else I just did not realize I should be doing when I started off in Photoshop was having certain parts of the ink on separate layers. Like with this, the things that are overlapping in a lot of inconvenient ways, like this weapon with the hands and such, like those are two separate layers in Photoshop right now, and it helps because you can just erase the bits you don't want on each of them, whereas doing it all on one layer is, you can't do that, and it's really annoying. There are so many things I didn't figure out about Photoshop for like embarrassingly long, but it was because I literally taught myself how to use the program. Like, I think I had like one digital art class in middle school once, and they went over like the basics, but other than that, like most of the stuff I've learned about Photoshop I learned completely on my own, just through experimenting and such. And now finally we're on the colors, which is the actual interesting part. I changed her hair a bit to be this more seafoam green rather than the bluish color. Like, it's very subtle changes. I also gave her tanner skin just because, I don't know. What I'm flipping back and forth between right now is the practice sheet I made, where I looked at the original design and kind of made a bunch of preliminary sketches of what I wanted it to be. And so that helped me nail down like a plan and a color scheme before I went into the final drawing. And now we're on to shading. I used like a deep red for the shading colors, similar to the color of her like head, veil, and skirt and stuff. Wait, her skirt's orange. Never mind. The cape is red. It's really more of a like wine. I'm getting too mixed up in colors again. But yeah, I decided to go with that color for this instead of the purple that I did for the other one, because you know, every piece has got its own color scheme, and sometimes different shading colors look better. I'm really loving this new double layered shading I'm doing. So what I do is I have two shading layers, like a primary one, and then, well, it's not really, they're both equally filled at the end of the day, but like, say I have hair like this where there's like one shadow for like the form of whatever chunk of hair I'm working on, and then the second layer of shadow is for like the detailing of like the individual strands, and for any places where it's like super dark, where I feel like there should be even more of a dark area, that's where I will fill in that second layer. So you'll see what I'm talking about later down the line, but it really helps to give this nice layered dynamic effect instead of flat shading, which kind of makes everything look like it's on the same dimension. You'll notice I'm not blending the shading on like the metal bits, and that's something I'm not entirely confident about right now. Like, it doesn't look fantastic, but I'm not quite sure how to do it right yet, because I want the metal things to look like they have a metal texture, but I can't really figure out how to do that and like have the level of realism I want right now. So I'm in the figuring it out stages with metal textures. Here's a brief insert from Editing Viv. I am recording this like 5 months after the rest of the video because things got kind of crazy and hectic in my life, and so I put this project on hold for a while, but I'm finally starting to feel okay again, relative. So I'm looking forward to getting back into this video making thing. I still have a ton of OCs I want to redesign, and I have been doing some work on my style and changing things up a bit, and so I really want to do more pieces of this project with those extra OCs. In the meantime, while I was away from this, I did redesign like almost every single Danganronpa character. So there's that. I've been going through a rough patch, but you know, the gears still have to grind somehow, and that was how I chose to spend my time. A painful endeavor, but it was really fun. Alright, back to you, me from 5 months ago. So I changed up the color scheme a bit, because the original one was basically just red, blue, yellow, and I wanted to make it a little bit more appealing to the eye. So I split that red into an orange for the top and skirt, and then this dark maroon for all the accessories and stuff, and her cape, to just kind of give it this more like crab-like feel. I don't know why, like I was talking to my dad about this drawing, and I was like, I mean, it feels like it looks like a crab, right? And he was like, what are you talking about? But to me, I'm like, doesn't it look like a crab? I don't know how to explain it other than, oh my god, I know what it is. Alright, so tangent time. I had this book when I was a kid called The Big Book of Just for Girls, and it had this section with like all the zodiac signs and like quizzes to see which one you were the most like. And in each one it had like, what are this sign's favorite colors, or like which are colors that go well with it. And for Cancer, which is my sign, it said red, orange, and greeny blue, and I was upset at the time because my favorite color was pink, and pink wasn't on there, and I was really mad about it because I liked pink and I didn't like orange or blue there very much at that time. But oh my god, we're at the background now, and I've spent this whole time talking about random stuff. So that's why I think orange and blue are crab colors. Anyway, here's the background, which I didn't spend very much time on because I hate drawing backgrounds. So I just did some general stuff to make it look beachy and called it a day, really. But then I went to lighting, which is one of my favorite things to do in a drawing because it's so easy in Photoshop to just add gradients and then make the lighting look gorgeous. Like I did that all the time back in 2020 when I was just figuring out how all that stuff worked. So here I am just adding up some finishing touches with the line art and adding some more lighting effects to give it this nice bright sunny feel. I imagine she's like looking over because she just saw her friend and is like, hey, I just finished like killing some monsters or something like that. Anyway, that's the end. Hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.